Okay, so first I wanted to just take a quick second to welcome you to Scope Takeoff. I'm going to walk you through everything the dashboard, creating a project, all the tools you're going to have at your disposal. Um, so, first things first, this is what you're going to see when you log into Scope Takeoff. You won't have these projects, these are obviously our projects, but you will have this will just be blank. You'll have everything else here. You have a few different views that you can view this after you have a few projects in here. You're going to have your grid view, which is the starting point and the view that I prefer most of the time. You're going to have your pipeline, which just gives you a different view of everything, a little more organized depending on how you want to look at things. And then you have your calendar view, which is really good for things like due dates. These are going to be, all of your future projects and when they're due. So hopefully you don't miss anything. Additional to that, you have the status here of your estimates. So you have projects that are estimating, projects that are done estimating pending approval, projects that are approved, bid submitted, award, lost, hold, and all. Also, you can filter by estimator. So depending on if you have multiple estimators on your team, you can filter and we'll give you all the projects that they have. So after that, there's a few other things you have here on your dashboard. You have light mode and dark mode. Depending on the time of day, I'm usually in light mode, and if it's in the evening hours, I'm going to be in the dark mode. You also have your settings here, which is really just going to give you your team members. You can invite new people to your team, just send them an email. You have your company profiles. So if you're bidding with multiple companies, multiple trades that you call different things, DBAs, that sort of thing. And then you have your billing here. After that, next thing to do to get started is you're just going to start a new project. Actually, I'll go back one step. So these project cards have a lot of information on them. They're going to pull from when you create a project, but you can assign them to people here. You can change their status here. You can actually share them from here. So you can share them to collaborators. You can share viewer or editor for things like subcontractors, suppliers, that sort of thing. You can change the date here, and you can see the GC or client here. So next, I'm going to open up a new project just to show you how everything works. I'm going to call this test project, and I'm going to add the bid date. You also have, you can add address, the GC owner, the state you're working in, the project type, the construction type, estimated value, building type, and square footage. But the only thing that is required is the project name and the bid due date. Without those two, you cannot create the project. So I'm going to go ahead and create and open up that project. Next, we have our actual estimating dashboard here. So just to give you a quick overview, this is the tab on which your plans are going to live. Obviously, you're going to need to upload plans first. You have your takeoffs. This is where all of your takeoffs are going to live. We have a default set of categories, but you can add your own categories here. We have your libraries, which are going to have your item libraries. These are a default set of libraries that come with the software. You can also add your own by trade. You can add your own labor and material to them. We also have assemblies, which are a group of items. So if you want to add from the library, if you're doing a sidewalk, you can add sidewalk, then you can add rebar or whatever the case may be. Next, we have our cost database. So the cost database is going to be common items that you may be using. We're actually constantly updating this. We're getting ready to add electrical and plumbing, which are just common, and they're just common items that most people would use. So for instance, concrete, you're going to use ready mix concrete, and you can actually search. This is just a national average per PSI. You can search regionally. So this updates every morning. Obviously, this isn't going to be exact to your, relationship to your supplier. Ideally, you're going to be getting cheaper, but if you're working in a new region or if it's something that you're kind of unsure about the material wise, this gives you a great place to start. Again, this updates every morning and is just an average by region. And last, templates, you can save templates of your estimates if you want to set up an estimate the same way every time. Obviously, if you are a, concrete person, You won't have electrical drywall, landscaping, fencing. A lot of this won't be a part of your scope, so you can delete those, and then that'll allow you to not have to delete it. And you save that as an estimate, so you don't have to delete that every time. Where you would delete that is right here in the categories sheet. This button right here. Next, we have our reports, which I will actually dive into that after we have done some takeoffs, same as estimates. So let me go ahead and upload some plans. Actually, before we do that, I just want to show you one feature that is really cool if you do things like roofing or landscaping, striping and signage, even concrete. What you can do is pull a local and any address, and it will pull an aerial view. So you're going to save that as a sheet, and it does have a dynamic scale here that you can set and take things like if you wanted to measure the size of this building, or the amount of striping on this parking lot, or the size of the parking lot. Just gives you a really good idea of where you need to be on price. It's not 100% accurate. Obviously, no way is going to be 100% accurate besides going out there and measuring, in person, or with an actual set of plans. But this is a really good way to get close without having to actually go out there. I'm not going to use that right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and upload some plans here. Choose a relatively small set for the sake of time. Good thing we offer is actually you can upload zip files. So a lot of GCs or clients will send you a set of plans that's in a zip file, and you have to unzip them, then upload each plan sheet individually, and it can become a pain. We allow you just to upload the zip straight in. Now this part is going to take a few minutes. This is probably going to take, 5 to 10 seconds per sheet. So I recommend you opening up a new tab and, go check your email or something. I'm going to fast forward through this. Okay, so after everything uploads, you'll get this message, upload complete. You'll have all of your plans over here in this tray right here. I'm going to see if I can pull out. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the structural plans here. So the reason it takes a little while to upload is because what's going on is it's extracting all the text from each plan. So takes a little while longer on the front end, but what the really cool thing is you can do is, I'll go ahead and close these out for a second. You can do things like search the word concrete, and it'll pull up every plan that has a mention of concrete here, and it'll actually highlight it. So every place the word concrete is mentioned, it'll highlight it for you. Another good thing that when these plans are scanned and tagged like this is you can use this plan AI assistant. So for example, what concrete PSI is specified. This will go through and see if it can find exactly what PSI is specified. A lot of times it doesn't find exactly, but it does tell you, okay, so it says check sheet S 1.0. So we're going to open that up, and then you can have this sheet open, go here and search the word PSI, and it'll actually tell you exactly where the PSI is. So a lot of times this AI assistant doesn't get the exact spec on it, but it'll tell you where to find it. So here we have our spread footings at 3,500, interior at 4,000, and exterior at 4,500. Gives you the air content and everything like that. So really cool features. You can also contact us on support through here if you have any questions, issues, or if you may have any features that you want to request. This is where you can do that as well as just shoot us an email or give us a call. But just wanted to show off some of those features real quick. Additionally, let me go ahead and pull up. Let me see if I find exactly what I need here. Looks like there's actually not a good plan for me to work off on this set. So I'm just going to kind of improvise here. I want to pull up this A 1.1 plan. So just want to kind of run through the features real quick. After you have a plan open, you're going to go to this takeoff tab. Obviously, you're going to do a new takeoff here. It's going to prompt me to set the scale. So I need to go down and find a scale. You can also do a calibrate or an auto detect from the drawing. I usually find it's easiest just to set the scale there. What I typically do after that is use this markup tool to run a dimension. I usually try to find a longer dimension on here. So yeah, 106, that's good enough for me. I'm gonna check this point here, check this point here, and make sure we're good. Yeah, we're good on the scale. So just to verify, a lot of times the scales on these plans may be wrong. If it was wrong, you could go ahead and do calibrate 2-point click. So I would go in here, click 2 known points, and I would type the distance. That's 106.05. Technically, that's a weird one. Honestly, most of the time I probably just do 106, and it'll actually pull the scale so we know we're accurate as well. At that point, I would do, let's call this slab. Obviously, this isn't probably what this is, but I'll just call it 4-inch slab with number 4 rebar, just for the sake of demonstration. You can select your line color and your box color here. You can select your line size. You can also add assemblies that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to start measuring, and I'm going to, so you can do a free measure here if you want, which is just normal. You can also press the S key and it'll snap to these edges here. So just a cool little feature. You can toggle that on and off by pressing the S key. So you'll double click to close. So now you have this slab here. So what you can do here is now this is when this edit tool will come. So if you have edit, you can just grab this, move it around. If you need to move it, you can take these points, move a point, anything like that. You can also use this markup tool. You have highlight, which you can highlight things on the plan. So if you want to highlight, a spec or something like that, you can call out. So if you wanted to call out a, spec as well. You have dimension lines, which we just used. You have your text, which is if you want to, leave a text message. And the one I really like is the legend. So you can add your legend here, which will just tell you exactly what green is. You can see for a slab. So at quick glance, or if somebody's viewing this, you can go ahead and show them that. Which is really cool is you can export this. So actually I'll go ahead and delete this. You can export the view with this legend right here. It's going to go ahead and export this exactly, and it will add the legend. So anyone viewing this at quick glance can also see this is really good to send over to clients and that sort of thing, which will, it just gives you a lot of clarity. It makes sure everyone is on the same page. Also, you can export it without that. You can export it in a zip. This will export, when you click this, it'll export every plan that's marked, but you can also just do this sheet right here. Also, a cool view is this tab right here. This is all your sheets. This is all of your marked. So you can go in and see everything that was worked on pretty quickly. Takeoff, which is just when you're triggering a new takeoff, you're going to be on this takeoff tool. You have cutout, which is if you need to cut a shape out of this, say you measured too much, you can click into this, go ahead and, cut a shape out. And this is going to cut that area out and subtract it from your total. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. And also you have this eraser, which is literally just click this and it's going to be able to erase everything. And this is another way to print. So from here, you actually have this this reports tab, which is going to allow you a bunch of different views of everything. You can group them by category, group them by sheet, group them by type. Usually I am doing category or sheet. This is really good for sending quantities over to to material suppliers or subcontractors, that sort of thing. You can print this out in a PDF, or you can export it as a CSV or Excel file. Lastly, we have the actual estimate tab, which is going to give you this summary page. This is where you can add your client, you can choose your company, you can add on this actual summary page, you can add your overhead and profit. There's a few different ways you can add your overhead, profit, and cost, but this is just one of them. You can edit your scope of work in terms of conditions or terms and conditions. You can also AI generate your scope of work. So you click AI generate. This is just going to summarize basically your takeoffs. Obviously, you're going to want to go through and make sure this is correct. But we'll supply 115 feet of 4-inch concrete slab with number 4 rebar, 12-inch on center. Just, basically expands on your actual, takeoffs. But again, always double check that sort of thing. You can save a version. So if you have multiple versions, you can add multiple versions for addendum, change order, or just a bid revision. And you can select which version you're working in. After that, we have the worksheet, which within this worksheet tab, there are actually 2 views. You have your unit price view, which is if you just want to, price $25 a square foot and send it. You can generate a proposal and it's going to price at $25 a square foot unit price. You can also have this detailed price. So say it's not $25 for material, it's $15 for material, $8 for labor, and $2 for equipment. Plus you have your tax on material. So let's call it 7%. This is going to tax this amount. And then you have your general conditions, let's say 2%, your overhead, 1%, and then your profit, 25%. So it's going to give you a grand total here, which will also allow you to print that proposal or as a PDF. And then you can, give it to your client this way. I prefer to do it most of the time through unit price. Just makes it a lot clearer for us. So that being said, that is pretty much everything when it comes to the estimate here. Again, like I said, any features or problems you may have, please reach out to support. And I hope you have a great time using Scope Takeoff.